Hello and welcome to Biogas TV Season 3, Episode 2. This is the world's #1 live streaming biogas industry TV show. I'm Paul Green and I lead an R&G advisory business. This season, we're featuring nominees for the Giants of Biogas Awards. The Giants are those who have truly moved the needle in the biogas industry. Previous episodes are up on biogas.tv and on YouTube. Nominations are open this month and the awards are given at the Detroit conference in May. We're excited coming up in March and April for future nominees will be on here with us, like Brian Paganini, Jim Potter, Brian Sievers, Lauren Toretta. So greetings to my co-host, Alex McFarland with R&G Connect. We've got our friend Drew Puchot, who leads us in the offtake roundup at the end of the show. For today's Giants nominee, we feature Bernie Sheff with the ABC and Burns and McDonnell. Bernie's career spans over 30 years in the biogas industry, where he served in key technical leadership roles with the likes of Energia, Montrose, Burns and Mac, and others. He's now in his, count them, 7th term as chair of the ABC. I can't even fit all those on one hand. 7. The premier biogas industry trade organization, where he's led the organization to now being a multi-million-dollar organization of well over 400 members. Today's episode is sponsored by POC. POC is the inventor of the biocyclone, which is a great system for keeping sand out of digesters. The biocyclone runs a bit like a hydrocyclone, but better. DM me if you'd like to check it out, where you have sand accumulation issues on biogas projects. So Bernie, my dear friend, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. This is quite an honor, and I know you. You tried to be as humble as you could, but when you're telling me 150 people are signing up to sit in, this is the real deal, my friend. You've done a great thing here.
Thanks. We're having fun at this stage of my career. I joke with people, it's all about joy. I'm doing nothing that isn't fun. So alas, here we are.
Yeah. You completely took me off my feed there, because I was going down one path, and I am having right now. This is the greatest part of my career. I don't know. I can't look back at any time with more joy than what I have right now. I'm working for part-time for Burns and McDonnell. They've allowed me to do some. They allow me to do a number of things, and they give me this bully pulpit to work from, and it's been wonderful. And I get to work with my son, Ben, every day. We're on the phone talking about things, and, I see him more and more. I see him becoming, that a voice. And then because part-time with Burns and Mac wasn't enough, we opened another company called Bernie Sheff PE, which we're doing a lot of really neat consulting stuff, working on projects, and my son James and I work on that project to work on those things together. So between that and what the ABC does for someone who supposedly retired, I've never been happier in my career. I've never had more fun, and it's amazing because it's all based on all of those lessons and all those things I've seen. But it's not just seeing them, and it's not just at times getting a giggle out of them, because you can get a giggle out of some of it. On the other hand, it was taking every one of those things, good, bad, otherwise, and stiffing it back in the corner and saying, I'm going to use this to learn going forward. My first digester, and Paul knows this, I'm sure he can quote it for me. But my first 1291, the day that James, my son, who's listening in the back of the office, in his office here in our office on Main Street in Eaton Rapids, the day he was born, we started filling it. 12/12/91. Did everything wrong you could imagine in starting up a digester right in the beginning of the teeth of the Michigan winter, that 25 miles off Lake Michigan, sitting on a hill. So they didn't even put it in a hollow or something like that. No, we put it up on a hill. So the wind blowing off Lake Michigan brought in every bit of lake effect snow and all those things, and froze the cover and all of the crazy stuff. But we We got through, and that site was not a good place when I first got there. We were the only, it was the only place north of southern Indiana, Hinckley, Indiana, where carrion buzzards would winter over because there was beef processing going on, and there was things going on the ground out there that shouldn't have, that the carrion buzzards were coming up and living up there and could live winter through on. We Paul, and I've told this story in operator school, but it was they had taken one of the lagoons, and then it just had gone anaerobic, and it had fat on top of it. When the bubbles of fat would break, we were out there with the DNR, Department of Natural Resources representative, and I've never gotten over this. I felt so sorry for this woman. She's out trying to work with us to fix this situation that we know were a problem. And I was brought in as a consultant on it, and we're trying to work through things. And the bubble comes up out, and the odor was so bad that she lost it, standing there on the side of the bank of the lagoon. And and of course, one of the owners was like, later on, it's like, oh, she deserved it. And I looked at him and said, no, she didn't. She didn't come to work today and deserve that. And so that's been something that always stuck with me. The other thing that about Merco, Murray Beef Company, our Murray Packaging, which became Merco, which became JBS, and now it's a tremendous, pristine facility there in Plainwell, Michigan, is when you know you're a problem, you need to do something about it. And Merco had become a problem. People couldn't go out. I went to the meetings and sat and listened to people scream about, we can't go in our backyards in the summer because, we're in the downwind. They had actually had where the wind changed one time, and they had the football game. They had to stop the football game because the odor was so bad coming off the lagoons out there. So, I learned something really, really special doing that project. When you become a problem, and especially odor, and odor in our industry go hand in hand, right? It's the reason various projects have been shut down. Various control industries have been, groups have been shut down because of it, is odor. When you become a problem, you can't tell people they don't smell it. When you become a problem, now is the time to go do something, right? And to engage and to tell those people we're a problem and we're working on it and we're solving it. And you know what? When you did that, they worked with you. We had to clean out that lagoon, the offending lagoon, the one that took out the woman from the DNR. And so what we did is we pulled everybody downwind. Prevailing wind in that part of Michigan comes out of the southwest and off the lake. And we said, please, if you got an outdoor wedding, you got this, you got that. If you have anything planned, tell us, because we're going to try and do this clean out over a weekend. And then we lined it up with it, and we put people on a bus with a couple coolers of adult beverages and sent them down to see the Detroit Tigers on a Saturday when we went in with guns ablazing to get the top off get that fat out of there and get that thing pumped down, and fix the problem over that weekend. So we made a big impact, and from there we could go forward. But the lessons learned there were amazing. The other thing that it was in the food waste industry, in the food processing industry, is some of the stuff that I learned. We were doing a project in North Carolina, in Charlotte, and we had come in to take over with basically a project that had stopped, and the company building it had gone under, and we were asked to come in and take it over. And it had one of the, I'll never get over it. The trucks would end dump, and then there were these augers that fed sideways into a lift station that would lift everything up and then send it horizontally across the top. But there was no stop. It was just, they assumed the stuff would come over and then fall onto another and then go over to some food waste separators. Well, we would have 6 foot, it was the most rotten, it was a horrible smell you've ever, is rotten 6 foot long chicken bologna. And it would come flying off the top of these things. And sincerely, if you had to go into that building with a hard hat on, because if you didn't, I mean, these things would come off the top of there and certainly inconvenience passersby. Um, and the same system was put in up in Rhode Island. And even it was funnier there. This one was actually funny because these things didn't hurt as bad as what the chicken bologna, because a chicken bologna 6 foot long, right, and 8 inches diameter is pretty heavy. But cranberries. So the cranberries would get on the top conveyor and would shoot off. So as you'd open the side door to come in, you'd hear the cranberries hitting on the inside of the door. And there was, for months afterwards, you'd find dried up cranberries on the floor. So it was, I have to say, fixing those machines, and it was an early design of that machine that had some issues, and having to go into that container, having to go into that machine. And I always said I always go first. I don't send anybody into something I wouldn't do. And so we had to fix this thing. And so I got in there with a mechanic, and I'm pulling on the pry bar, and we're getting this thing out. And I was coated with this rotten chicken bologna. But you know what? I learned a lot. I learned a lot in how I would convey food waste going forward. And I'd never do something like that ever. So, I mean, getting yelled at by a crowd, getting covered with rotten bologna, getting shot with cranberries, all of that was great. And first of all, in making you humble. Second of all, you never, if you're the leader, then you go first. And you got to get up. You got to go up the tank first. You got to go in with them. You got to never look like you're not going to be the one to go fight that battle for them. Unfortunately, in all of that, there was one lesson, and this does not come from the digester industry, although it could. I did a lot of expert witness work in my early career, and was called on, believe it or not, this happened on February 1st. It happened on Groundhog Day. 4 men went into a meter pit to check the meter pit and to pressurize the system. And they had connected all the piping with what's called a dresser coupling. And so we have this high pressure 500 PSI line coming down from Port Huron, Michigan, going into Detroit for water and feeding all of the neighborhoods along the way. The dresser couplings had never been supported across. And they started filling this vault underground about the size of my office here. The pipe wasn't held down. It began spinning, and it was 4 men. 4 men lost their lives and didn't come home. And so I was expert witness for the township in that situation, and what a harrowing experience, but also tremendous learning from that. And so now you know why on ABC why we push so hard on confined space entry, because those 4 men went into a confined space and didn't come home, and we had 6 folks last fall do the same thing. Yeah.
So it's a serious business we're in, but it's a very unserious business as too. Next time we've all got our closet full of 2 sets of clothes, right? We've got our blazers and we've got our field clothes, right? We got the jeans, we got the boots where we're dealing with biosolids and manure and food scraps. And so quite the hybrid of serious and unserious that we get involved with.
There is nothing in this world more important with designing something, building it, and then being out there to start it up, to operate it, and to realize what you did wrong. And many times it's a quick plumbing fix, it's this or that. Other times it's like, okay, we got a problem here, right? We got a problem. Fair Oaks was a fantastic example, right? We built gas upgrader when I was at Energia. We put that gas upgrader in, and everything was, we were all going. We'd spent 6 months in design and evaluating how many meeting after meeting to make sure we get everything all going. And unbeknownst to us, right at the time that we're trying to start up the gas upgraders, the farm had changed dairymen. And Mark Storman and I have given an actual course on this about how to screw up a digester. They they changed the dairyman, the herdsman changed, and the herdsman got a great deal on new sand. It was a light quartz sand. And I know you're going to say, well, Bernie, all soil, all everything has a 2.65 specific gravity of sand. Bernie, be quiet. No. This was a light quartz, light blonde sand that walked right through the sand separation system and found its home in the digester. So we're going along, everything's working. The next thing we know, we got no gas, we got no storage, everything's starting to go sideways, and we find out that the digesters are full of sand. And so everything had to come to a stop. The other thing that we learned there, probably beyond the fact that what can happen upstream of you, was the lesson learned there was never, ever put a gas upgrader in where you don't have storage, because that type of digester has no storage. So the system was constantly early on searching, because it would pull too hard and then it would build up. And so now, I always, any system you've seen I've designed always connects the covered lagoon in, because then I got storage. It's the reason, I go the other way, is that I was just really honored to be able to when I was with Montrose, we built a project out in at the Paloma Dairy, and I don't mind saying the name, is the Paloma Dairy. It is Paul, and Paul, you were part of it, Paul, the flare hasn't come on since 2021. They burned the flare in order to make sure it worked. It's never come on, because we've got the headspace we've got the covered lagoons so we back up the gas in there. We treat the parlor water in the covered lagoon, and any flush water they want. We gave them the opportunity to do both, and essentially we've got a tremendous CI score. But the most amazing thing is not only the flare not coming on, but when you go out there and you stop in, and the operator, Jason, he's in the control room, and it's quiet, and it doesn't smell like a digester at all. And you go outside, and there's one guy doing maintenance, and the gravel's raked. It's the cleanest, most beautiful facility you've ever seen. But it's all about not only, putting a good process together, which, was blessed there, but number two, is having good operators, and they've gone to the operator training school. We're working on projects up in Wisconsin now, and they're telling us they're going to send all their people to operator training now in Detroit this summer, or in the spring, for Biogas Americas, because they've come back and said that operator training school, Paul, that you were part of that with me, and you and I, Mark Storman, Craig Freer, Brian Langhoff, and I'm going to miss a name, but I would say that that was the beginning of this. Maybe if there was one place in my life that some guys came together and girls came together, people came together, and this operator training has been important. It really has, and it's changed a lot of this industry. And I think Paul, you should be very proud. I'm very proud. Mark Storman, making that happen. Craig Freer has been amazing. We've hired Hannah now for the last year. She's been in with ABC. She's picking up the ball and running with it. Yeah. Brian Langhoff, obviously. So again, right? Learning from those mistakes, laughing at yourself. Absolutely laugh at yourself. But I would say, if there's any young engineers, young developers, people starting out, I have to tell you one thing. If you're a young engineer, fight to get out in the field and see your system operate. Make sure, and if you got to I don't care if you got to take vacation, go watch your system operate. You can't just put some lines down on a drawing and then move on. You need to take that time. That time in the field will pay you back 100 times. So, what does Bernie think about the timing of? Okay. You know what? I'm gonna defer you over. Talk to Heather. I think she would. I wasn't ready to answer questions. Unfortunately, I can tell you I'm going to fly in next week, so I hope you come for that. I think that we've worked very hard. We wouldn't have the 45Z if it wasn't for several people. One of them being Brian Sievers. I want you to all remember that when the voting occurs, Brian Sievers was very, very instrumental. He was the guy that was there when in Grassley's office there late in the evening trying to make sure that they kept this in. So, and Heather and all of her tremendous work in getting the 45Z and the HAW team. What do I think on the timing of it? I wish it would have come out sooner. I just got to keep it going. But join the ABC policy call and the tax group call, and you can hear more about it.
Yeah, I don't
Right,
think
brother.
anyone has a crystal ball on that one, Bernie. You know, Set 2 and 45Z have both been delayed more than anyone wanted, and the reality is that we could still see a complete 180 in the next, what, 20 days or so on Set 2, and in the next 90 to 120 days or so on 45Z at best. You know, that could get even further delayed. But yeah, it's again, nobody has a crystal ball there.
Yep.
All right. We'll keep it moving. So thank you, Bernie, for your leadership, for congratulations on your seventh term as chair, and for the sustained, steady growth of the ABC and keeping the ship running smoothly. So congrats on a fantastic career.
Thank you, my friend. It's you know what it's mostly about? It's about holding the rudder still, tacking into the wind, always holding that rudder true. Don't let go. Don't make big changes at once. You keep your eyes forward, and I think that good things always happen.
Good. All right, brother. Well, good to see you. And we're going to jump over to Drew Puchot to talk about our offtake roundup. So, Drew, you got anything for us today?
Yeah, we have a few things, and I will say, in terms of the Set 2 question, there is at least a decent target of seeing finalization on that by the end of the month. That's what, with the EPA's updated information to the White House and their proposals that they've placed, it seems like we're on the right timeline for that. But the White House certainly has a lot in their hands right now, don't they? So, and again, no crystal ball there. A few different instances where we could see a bullish market over the next 2 years, a couple of instances where we could see a bearish market, depending on how some of those reallocations get set. And with the way 45Z is written right now, it's certainly a positive outlook, but it still creates a lot of uncertainty in the market. And so we do at least have some positive news in the offtake side, where there are some term buyers coming into the space, and as well as some spot interest. And it seems like we're hearing that all of California, well, it feels like at least, is short on RNG, low CI RNG. And so we have a few different dispensing organizations that have reached out to us looking for low CI RNG. It's becoming more and more of a question of where is food waste going to fill in the gaps on this sometimes, and I think there's an opportunity growing for that feedstock. However, 10-year landfill gas offtake has seen a slight uptick in price towards the beginning of the year. I was telling Paul somewhat privately that we had seen prices as low as $14 per MMBTU, 14 and a quarter. Seems like we've kind of bumped up into the $15 handle range, somewhere between 15 and a quarter, 15.50. Obviously, no two stories are the same. It's always going to be a different story for different landfills and different buyers out there, depending on their creditworthiness and experience. But certainly, please reach out, because we do have an interest in connecting with more landfill supply, especially if you have an ISCC certification, and food waste developers. We want to hear more from you guys. Definitely hearing that there is a play in the market where I think Bernie's stories are extremely intriguing to me. I don't have an engineering background. I don't usually get involved in that portion of the industry, but I still find it wildly fascinating to hear some of these stories of where things went wrong, where things got improved on, and where our industry has come in the last so many years. And we try and keep striving forward to find ways to cut costs effectively without sacrificing or without leaving ourselves open to mistakes and some of the events that Bernie mentioned. So that in mind, there are some interests out there for 5 to 10 year term offtakes on both food waste and low CI RNG that could be used to fill some of these California sinks. I think the trick has been we've heard a lot in the market about what Canada is doing, and I've heard stories that there are $85 plus, 5 year plus offtakes. And honestly, if you've come, if somebody on this call has actually gotten one of those, I would love to hear about it, because I'm starting to think that that was a bit of a farce that was being put out for a little while in the market.
I thought we put that one to bed already, Drew.
I thought so too, but I just wanted to put it out there on this today's show, because I'm almost ready to start putting my money where my mouth is and calling people out if I have to, because if somebody has maybe a redacted example that they can share with me to prove me that exists out there, I'd be interested. I kind of heard a few more people squeaking about that recently, and the reality is the best we've seen in terms of a floor price for any market right now has been right around $40
as a floor, and that's extremely good. I mean, that's for a super
that's
low
extremely
CI.
good.
That
And in reality is I think, and that would be bundled though, so including the brown gas.
right.
I think the true price right now for 5 year low CI RNG that could be available in both Canada and California is closer to 35.
Yeah.
Okay.
Without a floor.
Right. Yeah.
Alex, you want to close us out? You finding any action up in north of the border, up in Canada?
Well, lots going on. There is, I'm working on getting some dispensing capacity filled, which actually creates the liquid class credits. And, so that's going going well. And I've got a number of, both dairy and food waste clients that are looking to get there. I mean, the trick is that, is the lack of the long-term offtake. At least while Fortis and Energeer are kind of retooling and waiting for PUC approvals to get back into contracting. So that's kind of without those long-term buyers, that can be a trip or a trick. But no, it was an interesting conversation, and Paul, I appreciate your Marie Kondo theory of career management at this point. Hold on to it if it sparks joy, right? Get rid of it if it doesn't.
Yeah. Good.
And
Okay.
then Bernie, I mean, sorry, one last, we're talking about odor, with these food waste plants, especially, like, it's important to remember that anaerobic digestion is or should be the solution to organics management odor problems, and so generally when we get issues, it's when things are sort of off design or going wrong for some reason. It's not the general state of affairs. And so I think it's important to remember that's one of the great services of AD.
Last week, we had a wonderful participant that's running the Chicago project, a good odor story. Next week, we have Brian Paganini from Quantum Organics near Hartford, Connecticut, a great low odor story. So people are running urban digesters that don't get a lot of neighborhood complaints. So Bernie, you got the last word this week. What you got?
Yeah, Alex, real quick, you just brought up something that hit my heart. When we were teaching operator school, and a person who had grown up in Plainwell, Michigan, came up and said, "You're the guy. You put that digester in, and it made it so I can play outside as a little kid." Never going to forget that. It's what the digester did. Last, please, everybody on here, come fishing with me in Detroit on the Sunday before Biogas Americas. We've set up a catch and cook. walleyes in May on Lake St. Clair. It's best in the world. Come out, come fishing with me, and then we're going to have a big cook at Sinbad's right on Woodward there, just in the city of Detroit since 1940. A heck of a day planned. Join me.
Good stuff.
Thank
May
you, everyone.
is all about Detroit, baby. So thanks everybody for joining. Appreciate you taking your time with us here in Biogas TV, and we will talk to you next Monday.